I think we're live. Now we're live. It says live. This is Playing to Win with Mark and Brad. Good morning, Brad.
Good morning, Mark. Man, that is an intro of intros. Way to kick off the new year with vigor and enthusiasm.
That's what I do, man. And I think that's appropriate because I feel so grateful. I really feel energized that the holidays for me have completely given me so much clarity. I feel like a real retrospection on all the things that I've learned, experienced. And I do feel like we're not out of the woods. We got a lot of work to do, but the confidence level is higher. My confidence is higher. My commitment level is higher to doing the things. I got better plans now than I had before. And I think everybody in my sphere has a similar approach. And so I just cannot wait to get into this year. How about you?
Yeah, man, same way. I was thinking this morning coming in, which direction the conversation would go today. Would it be, hey, excited, enthusiastic about the new year, worried, scared about what the new year holds, or just that the angst and anxiety of having, a lot of us, start from zero on January 1st. So, never know what the new year holds for individuals.
Well, so that's what I wanted to talk about today. So I realized in myself that if I take a break, which is good for me, for whatever reason, if there's a pause, a vacation, a holiday or something, that I get out of rhythm and I'm starting to get that energy back that like it's time to go. But when I get back into the rhythm, all my routines are broken. All the things are, and so I've got like house cleaning. Well, I'm gonna sit down at the desk. Oh, the desk's a mess, and I've got this pile of excuses. They don't have the excuse label on them. It's just like, well, I got to clean up, and then I'll call, and then I got to set that thing up. Oh, and I got the new thing, and the new thing's got to get plugged in, and then I'll get going. And so I have experienced that, like I'm ready to kick off the year, kick off the time period, but I'm stuck doing all this maintenance, and then it's like 2-3 weeks click off, and I didn't get that head start that I wished I had. What do you do to get the head start kicked off without missing a beat?
Yeah. All right. Well, you had me up until without missing a beat. Honestly, man, I'm just like you. Vacations, I don't vacation well. I don't take time off well for that exact reason. I am a creature of habit and a creature of routine. From my morning exercise routine to my breakfast to everything that I do. I'm a routine guy, and I thrive in consistency. And so when I take time off, when I go on vacations, it is always a grind to get back into the routine. So I tend to start I started working on it kind of Saturday, honestly, getting to bed a little bit earlier, waking up a little bit earlier. Yesterday, I worked hard around the house yesterday, almost a full day, just to make sure I was, in a mode of movement, and so I could get to bed early, get a good night's sleep, and have that momentum of movement rolling into today. But no, that's a great question.
So my fear was I feel fortunate because when I went into the holidays, I even had some friends, or one guy in particular was like, hey, let's talk about some strategy for 2021. And I was like, no, I'm totally going into clarity mode. I'm not doing anything that involves work, least of all learning. Learning is so much work, and I can't do that right now. And so I just wanted to let everything go, and I took so much space. And then after having taken enough space, I felt when I was ready to start looking forward, and that was when I started adjusting things like how I'm standing. And today we talked about that. I don't have the headphones on. Little subtle things that sort of tweak how I'm coming out of the gate. And I've made some investments. I bought some new stuff for doing my sessions. I've got a new camera coming, and so I've started to do that work. But what I know about myself is that I will get caught up in the project and all the creation and not the working that creation there is there to enable. So what I've got is some very strict budget timeframes that this is the time I'm going to work on. And if it doesn't work, I got to call it and say, we got to get back to the basics. Because what we know about doing things activity and behavior driven. It's about getting it done more than getting it done right. And this is a time of year when it's really easy to get obsessed with getting it perfect, doing it right. I'm going to do it even better next week. I didn't do it at all this week. We got to get back into the habit of 20 miles a week, even if they're imperfect. We got to start right from the get-go. And so Wednesday's my day to do the work, and that's blocked out, and I'm not going to interfere with that and make sure those projects are kept to the side.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sound advice, time blocking, but also knowing what those activities or behaviors are in day one of the new year. There's so many people that finish the year and then they spend the first several weeks of the new year piddling on what their plan is going to be for this year. You talk about those behaviors. So
I'm doing this already. It's like I want 10 new habits. Like I've decided I'm going to pick up piano again, and I'm going to learn chess. And I've already figured out that where's all this time coming from? So I'm having to push back into the focus mentality of what's the one thing that has to get done. I can have 3 things on the list. That's not a problem. But what's the one thing that has to get done, period, and non-negotiable? And the second and the third things are sort of nice to have. Yeah. And so I understand what I've got to do on Wednesday. I understand which of these things I'm going to focus on and let everything else fall into line of priority. Because if I let it be kind of a pile of priorities, it's very random what comes out of that.
So what do you coach your people on as far as, if they were to say, hey, Mark, what's the one thing I need to be focused on in January? Anything in particular that you're coaching them on or advising? Hell, maybe it's even that one thing that you're focused on. Any insight onto that?
Well, it's nothing different in terms of what we would do at a quarterly or an annual. We've got to ask ourselves, what's the objective? And if we've done good planning, we did our annual sometime in November, December, we have a roadmap. We got clarity on our rocks for the next 90 days. Yeah. And we got to look back at that and ask ourselves, what really changed? And make sure that we're back to the fundamentals, going back to our scorecards. What are the numbers we got to hit? And there's no pass. There's no, it's like, when we come out of a quarterly, this is probably the best example. We come out of the quarterly, we got 12 weeks to get our goals done. On track doesn't mean, well, I can get anything done in 12 weeks, so I must be on track. It's that first week out of the quarterly, that's first down, and it's first and 10. That's you gotta hit hard because the downs are going to be gone. Next thing you're going to be like, well, shoot, maybe next quarter. No, It starts right now. And so really go back to what's the one thing and what are our priorities. Really, I'm glad that everybody's been thinking, and I've been thinking about new, better, and great ideas, but we have a plan. We should have, and if we don't have a plan, we need to get one and schedule that quarterly, schedule that annual, and get it done this month. Because if you're just kind of stirring the pot of great ideas, you're going to just, start a bunch of things and get nothing done. You need to have a clear plan of what's most important this quarter.
So I love the football analogy because when you start off, first and 10, that first down play is critical because if you gain 3, 4, 5 yards on the first down play, the next 2 plays become easier. It opens up the playbook. You can do a lot of different things. On second down, you can go for a deep ball because on third down you've got manageable yardage. But on first down, if you fumble the snap, if you take a sack, if you get tackled behind the line, if you throw an incomplete pass, all of a sudden you've got a lot more ground to make up, and it tightens what plays you can call on second and third down. So in business and in our professional world, the first quarter, if you're going off of the calendar year, which a lot of people do, some people have fiscal, but if you're going off the calendar year, this month is first down. You've got to come out and be ready to have a good play called and to run the play. That's not what I'm trying to say, but you got to be prepared to execute. Execute was the word I'm looking for.
Well, so think about when you watch, and we know sports analogies, that's our thing. So when you see a team hit the field and they score on the opening drive, like what is that? What does that do to the feeling of the fans and the team? It's like, we got this. But if it's 3 and out, it's like, well, I guess we still suck. Or this whole thing may be over in the first 60 seconds of the game. And so, you need to execute now. But I do think it has to absolutely be paired up with a plan. I can't say that enough. If you did the annual planning, go back to it. If you're operating off of your quarterly plan, then go back to it and get solid with it and make an impact in the opening drive right now. If you don't, you need to huddle. You need to get with the team and get that, schedule a full day. Pick up a copy of Traction and read through that and start doing the work you need to do to get a clear plan and hit it hard. Don't just put your energy into whatever seems convenient right now. That's not the right plan.
Yeah, I mean, because the psychology of playing with a lead versus playing from behind. I remember our coach, our basketball coach, used to always he always wanted us to score first. And it was just, look, if we get the tip, go down and score, run the offense or go to the hoop as quickly as possible. We want to score first. If we lose the tip, get up on them, get in the passing lane, try to make a steal. We want to score first. And as a kid, you don't really understand why. Why do you want to score first? And it's because the psychology of playing with a lead versus psychology of clinching and grinding and trying to regain that ground. And so, in sales, what do we do in the first quarter, the first month, the first week? I mean, get prospecting, right? Make those outbound calls, start networking again, start asking for referrals, carve out time every week to do outbounding activities. If it's email, if it's LinkedIn, if it's cold calling, whatever that might be. If you're a manager, get in front of your team members right now. Start the coaching, start the accountability, start the WIMs, the weekly individual meetings. Don't wait until there's problems. Don't wait until we get a month in and we start realizing that the lagging indicator, which are the results, are bad. And then we start grinding, trying to play catch up.
And I want to go to there too. Yeah. So you talk about the results. Don't get distracted in the results. And I think that's the mindset that throws people off. Hey, it's the first week of the year. We're not going to close any deals this week. No kidding. And get that out of your mind. That's not what you need to do. It's about those activities and behaviors. If your key metrics are dial. Do not hold yourself accountable to a revenue goal. That's not important right now. Right. Set the pace for getting the yards. Get the numbers on your offense to keep going into the metaphor. So get those dials going. Get those meetings going. Get the routine set. Get your team imprinted. If you're leader manager, get your team crystal clear on the fact that we're playing and we're making progress right now. If you're an individual contributor, pick up the phone, do the work, just get the miles and set the pace that we are on the road right now. And that will pay off for you in the coming weeks. Because you'll have the pace, you'll have the rhythm. And once you feel like you are doing it, you got this concept of, like, if you're familiar with streaks, like on streaking is not like you're thinking, Brad.
No, we're going streaking through the quad, a different streak.
So streaking is this concept in social media of consistent activity, consistent engagement, and it flows into habits. And when you have a streak of like the last 5 days in a row, I got up on time, or the last 5 days in a row, I took my vitamins. And so once you get this streak, you've got this sort of sunk cost bias of like, I've done this 7 days in a row. I can't stop now. Now is when you want that. You want to build that commitment to like, well, it was the first day back and I made 10 dials. And so second day back, I make 11 dials. Yeah. That is a recipe for a killer year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's the old adage, you can't drink all day unless you start first thing in the morning. And I think,
Agreed. Never truer words.
I think in starting off the new year, there's so much compounding interest that you gain by the end of the year, by the fourth quarter, if you do heavy lifting now. If your goal was to make one new contact every day, just one, that's 220 new contacts by the end of the year. I mean, that's a big number, but you have to start today. right? You have to
Right.
carve out time. Today I'm going to make some calls. I'm going to hit up some new people on LinkedIn. I'm going to ask for referrals. I'm going to contact old clients. I'm going to resurface old dead accounts. I'm going to reach back out to people I quoted that didn't buy from me, but I never thought to follow up and try to sell them something again. Whatever those activities are, starting on today and saying, okay, it's game time. Let's go.
Well, as you went through that, I realized there's also an embedded danger, and the danger is like you're listening to this live stream, or you've been thinking about it for 2 weeks, and you've thought of not like one thing you can do. You've thought of like 1,000 things you can do, and now you need to do. Like, oh my gosh, there's so many clients I haven't talked to. There's so many deals I could close. I got to do it all this week. Yeah. No, like you are totally. Turning the ship around from all of the things you did the last couple of weeks. Set your goals at priority. Like, get really focused on what the number one, number two things are, and make sure that those objectives for this week are reasonable. Lower the better, maybe. You just got to set the precedent that they happen and build a momentum. If this out of the gate, you set it so high you can't do it, or worse, you can't maintain it next week, you will be setting yourself up for a feeling of loss and inability to execute. So you really need to kind of pull it back if you're getting that caught up, like, oh, you know what? I could take over the world this week. No, you probably can't take over the whole world this week. Start thinking about what sustainable levels are and start there, because it's really demotivating to do that New Year's resolution thing of we're going to the gym 7 days a week. And it's like, well, but week 2, like I was busy and so I didn't go even once. Let's just get it to back. Let's go once. Let's do once. Yeah. And then make sure I can sustain a once a week gym routine. And if that kind of settles into place, let's do 2 days a week and let's do it that way. And there's a whole science. If you want to check the science of habits and starting small and consistency, BJ Fogg's got his book, Tiny Habits, and James Clear's got Atomic Habits. All of this, there's plenty of science to show that setting a very doable set of goals and habits is the key to sustaining this, rather than trying to blow it up on the first week.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you talked about getting into the routine after vacation, after break. And so, for me, my morning routine is kind of what launches my day. And I'm a early morning workout person. And so for me, like coming off of vacation, when I feel sluggish, when I feel tired, when I don't have the energy, the first thing I do is I say I'm going to get up at the time I'm supposed to get up, and I'm going to do something, right? Doesn't have to be a stellar workout. Like this morning, I just took the dog for a 3-mile walk, and that was my activity for today, because I knew I just wasn't going to have it in me to go and hit the gym and work out. And there's some days where I'll go out to the gym. We've got a home gym, and so I'll go out to the gym, and the wife will say, well, have a good workout. And I say, well, today I think I might go pretend. And so that's just, that's my way of keeping the habit going. And when I say I'm going to go pretend to work out, what I just mean is I'm going to go and I'll probably get on the treadmill or the elliptical and get after it for a little while and then do some light weights or something. But I know it's not going to be one of those, dripping sweat kind of days, but it's doing something.
That's exactly right. And that's so unintuitive, because I think those of us who have been in a high performance mentality for a long time compare ourselves to people who are at a higher performance than us by pretty good margin. And so when we think about, I got to go work out, and you look at the person you want to be and you try to emulate their workout, it doesn't involve what you just described. But it turns out, though, that what you described is the way. The right. way to make it sustainable is making sure it's built into your life, and it's much more important to save a little money every month than it is to every 10 years try to save a whole bunch of money. that doesn't really work that well. Yeah. And I've tried it. So really building that habit of small wins is way more powerful. And now's the time to do it.
Yeah, and it does. It feels and sounds weird to even tell people, "Hey, set your goals small."
Yeah, that's right.
It feels very counterintuitive, but yeah, I mean, if it's making one outbound touch a day, I mean, everybody, because one of the biggest reasons people say, "Oh, I don't have time." Everybody has time for one outbound a day.
Yeah,
whether it's a call, an email, LinkedIn, whatever it might be, everybody has time for one. Managers or leaders if you own a company or you're managing a team, you have time to connect with one person a day and do a daily check-in. Hey, how's it going? What are your priorities for today? What are your victories that you're celebrating? What are impending events that are coming up that you need assistance with? What are some problems that need to be solved? But having a routine or a cadence for connecting with those folks, and even if it's just one a day, but making it a quality activity and make it a plan.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. So I want to go directly to anybody who's trying to make this very specific to what's your plan. Okay. Brad, you said once a day. Once a day makes perfect sense for somebody whose job it is to do the same activity every day. But for some people, it's not that. Some people, their full days are other things. If you're a leader, manager, if you were an individual contributor in some capacity where your full day is doing something else, you might have to designate 1 day or 2 days or a half a day or something. But figure out what it is that you can block and what the smallest realistic objective has to be for you. And if it's one a week, and you can do it, that's a win. And we know that, I know this from experience, and the data is clear, and Vince Lombardi was clear on this, that the big wins come from a habit of small wins. And we have to build that into the fabric of our day and week and make that. And I've gotten flack for this, and you pointed it out. If I say set the bar lower until you hit it, like, no, we can't do that. We're high performance around here. It's like, well, you're not hitting your damn goals. That's not high performance. And we need morale. We need people to believe in themselves. And if it's not acceptable if it's really truly not acceptable, then we may need to make a change, right? Like if you've got a team that's performing at an unacceptable level and you're like, well, we can't set the goals that low. Well, maybe you need to get rid of the whole team if it's really that bad. But if you're going to keep them around, and if you're going to be keeping yourself around, and you're only going to be performing at a next level, figure out where it needs to be, where you can actually hit it and give yourself a win and protect it, and then work your way up from there.
Because here's the thing. Because I was chewing on that while you were saying it, and there's two types of people out there, and one of those types are probably not going to be watching this video, but there's two types of people. One type of people out there. That's one type of people.
One type of people. One type of person. I think you can make a case for both. Go with the one that feels for you.
There's the people out there that would listen to what you just said and use that as an excuse to do less, right?
Yeah.
Well, if I can just do one this week, they're going to use that as an excuse to do less. The winners of the world, right? The intellectual winners, the people who get it, are going to say, you know what? I'm struggling, and so I'm going to create a goal that's going to just motivate movement, motivate activity, just to get me doing more than I would have done had I not been deliberately thinking about it. And so, make sure that you're thinking of what we're talking about here, and specifically what you just shared was, create a low bar just so that you have something that you can achieve. Don't use that low bar as an excuse to do less. Make sure that low bar is more than you would have done normally, and not less because you're going to use it as a cop-out.
Yeah, to your point, it does make sense. And like you said, I don't know that people are going to be listening and feeling sorry for themselves and looking for an excuse to feel more sorry for themselves, and go move away from results. But I do think that the issue, the flag here is that, like, you're trying really hard, you still feel like you're losing, and you're busting your butt, you're setting goals, you're working hard. That's probably the best way to describe it. If you're working really hard but still not, when you look back, you didn't do what you set out to do. Mm-hmm. You have to go back and say, like, this is especially these activities that are based on repetition, and they need to be embedded and habitual. You need to do whatever it takes to make sure it is happening every week, and that has to do with the simple concept of making sure it's easy enough that there's no friction. So take it down until the friction is gone, that it now becomes potentially habitual and you can do it regularly. That's the only formula. You just got to take the friction out until it happens, because motivation right now is super high. And so when we have, and this is all BJ Fogg stuff, I'm ripping all his stuff off. When you have super high motivation, you can do hard stuff. Mm-hmm. But as time goes on, especially with routine activities, the motivation goes down. Like, whatever, when you watch that NFL game, you're like, I want to be just like him. And you're like, I'm going to go to the gym now. Well, next week, you can't remember the game. You don't care. It's like, your boss is telling you need to be somewhere. And you're like, well, screw the workout today. So the motivation's gone way down. And so hard stuff doesn't fit in my world anymore. So you got to engineer your habits to fit into the sustainable level of motivation for now and forever.
So I'll challenge one piece of that, and that I believe that the motivation and sustainability comes from the eventual results you get from the behaviors.
Well, that's right, but that's the result. That's a result, not an ingredient. So True. As you do the repetition, you start to say, well, 3 is no big deal, and I'm great. 4 is no problem, and you do need to, as you want better results, you need to move things around. But like you said, so if you're lifting weight and you're lifting the same, 150 pounds, eventually, like 200 pounds really isn't that different. Let's put 200 pounds on there. But if you go right to the 400, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. Add 1 pound a day and see where you end up.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And that's an interesting thing is, fellow EOer Justin, not a loss for his last name, but he's been really
Singer?
touting. Yes.
Yeah.
He's been touting the 1% better every day. And that's just do. It doesn't have to be these monumental feats. It's just a little bit better every day, and especially starting today, right? And that's the thing is this week is pivotal to 2021 success, because everything that you do today is going to have compounded interest towards the end of the year, and that incremental growth starting today, that 1% better today and tomorrow and the next day is going to make such an impact by the time you look at Q4 or the end of the year. So you gotta start today. What's the old adage? A year from now, you'll wish you started today.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I guess I'll pair it up with the similar. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So I think the reason I mentioned that is you can kind of get stuck in either one. You can, I'll do it tomorrow, or I didn't do it all last year, and I'm just going to feel bad that I did last year. I missed the opportunity. Well, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Yeah. Let that go. Start today. Plant the tree. Plant the seed. One little seedling at a time. It's time, not timing. It's definitely growing a business. Getting making these things happen is a persistence endeavor. It's a long haul marathon. It's little wins that build up to big wins. In the NFL, they talk about all the time. Sunday is just the day you collect the trophy that you worked for all week. So it's no different. No different now. We got to do the activities, make it sustainable, set the pace for the year today. Love it. Great one. Couldn't think of a better way to kick off the new year. I'm feeling energized. I'm going to go do one thing today. Yeah. I got to do the same thing. You say something like this and it's like, well, I guess I better go do that. Yeah. You know what? That's the beauty of doing what we do for a living is that you never want to be a hypocrite. And so the more you talk and promote the behaviors and activities and the mindset and the tactics and the techniques, the more you do it, because you have to practice what you preach. So I'm glad we're doing this, and I think this is a great way to kick off the week and the new year. And I couldn't think of a better place to do it than right here with you, Mark. Well, Brad, I'm grateful for our time together. I had so much fun kicking off the week. And honestly, this is so fun because it's literally the first significant thing I do in the week, and it sets the pace. And so I'm super grateful for this time, and I'm excited for today. I'm excited for this week, and I'm excited for this year. I really, truly am. Everybody I've talked to over the last 2 weeks is sort of turned the corner. It's like we've had our wounds. We know what's going on. We still got some stuff to work through, but we have set our sights on dominating 2021 despite the obstacles for the next quarter or two. And I'm ready to get after it. Awesome, brother. Well, have a fantastic week, and I'll let you wrap it up as you always do so eloquently. What am I supposed to say? Say something funny, Mark. I thought I already did. I thought I already wrapped it up. Man, thanks for this is the week to do it. This is the day to do it. This is the week to kick off the year. Let's get out there and set the pace for the year, and let's go play to win. See you next week, Brad. Y'all be well.